Oh. Oh.
My God, you look awful.
It's just... Since Pandemic Legacy, I can't play regular Pandemic anymore.
Some water will sort you out. Some water will sort you out. Some water will sort you out. What in the hell are you doing?
I was just purifying the water. Suffering from Pandemic Legacy blues? Then this is Pandemic, the Cure. A game that may well...
You can't say that.
Pardon? I can't say Pandemic, the Cure.
There's already a game called Pandemic the Cure.
Ah, for fuck. Have you been suffering from Pandemic Legacy blues? Pandemic Iberia may well be the remedy that you're looking for, injecting the series with a shot of new life. And if you thought that you were sick of the franchise, it might be time to dust off your medicine bag. For starters, just look at how gorgeous this game is. Pandemic Iberia demands your admiration, clapping and kicking its heels upon the table with all the flair of a flamenco dancer. From the Azulejo card backs to the hand-drawn map, the aesthetics of this package ooze 19th century Iberia. And if that doesn't impress you, look at the charming little wooden microscopes. Despite the flamboyant new attire, Iberia is still unmistakably pandemic. Together, you and your friends will struggle to contain the spread of disease as cities across the map burst like bubonic boils. You will be travelling across the map, treating diseases, sharing information, thank you, building hospitals, until ultimately you have gathered enough information to cure a disease. Cure all 4 diseases and you win the game. Iberia also brings some new tools to your first aid kit. As any good doctor will tell you, there's nothing that can't be cured by a tall glass of cold water. The Purify Water action helps you create a temporary line of defense against future infections. For example, this region here is at risk of outbreaking at any moment. But by discarding a card which matches the colour of one of the cities in the region, you get to place 2 water purification tokens, thus buying you precious time. Next time you have to infect one of the cities in this region, instead of placing a disease cube, you remove one of the water purification tokens. This places an emphasis on preventing the spread of disease, rather than curing it. But sprinkle your waters too liberally, and you risk pissing away, squandering, the precious resources that you need to win the game. Free-flowing water is not the only commodity that Iberia has to offer. Any gamer worth their smelling salts knows that all board games are better with trains? Seriously though, rail travel in Iberia is incredibly satisfying. By laying your track tiles between cities, you start to develop an infrastructure. As long as your railways are connected, you can travel as far along the line as you like in one move. You will gradually build up a rail network so ludicrously efficient that you can send characters shooting around the map at the breakneck speed of a bullet train. Imagine that. Fast, dependable, low-cost rail travel. The reason this feature works so well is that it has you planning longer term, thinking about how you want to connect up areas across the map. Where should you build your hospitals? And how easily will you be able to reach them? Will you be able to deliver emergency aid to high-risk locations at a moment's notice? And where do you need to meet other characters in order to share information? These plans are frustrated by the fact that you only have a limited amount of track available. Once you run out, that's it. Meaning each piece of track you lay has to count. Railways add a logistical layer to the puzzle that has you feeling like you're building towards something. You have a grander scheme. Like maybe you might actually have an impact. Naturally, Iberia comes with a cast of new characters to complement the time period and the new systems within the game. The rural doctor is good, of course, at treating things. The railway man is incredibly good at building railways. Plus, he can take other characters on a little train ride with him. Equally, the sailor can hop from port to port, taking characters on a little cruise down the Costa del Sol. The agronomist does agro. The nurse prevents disease from spreading wherever she is. The politician uses his connections in high places to find out what's going on, share information. And the Royal Academy scientist, well, no one really knows what she does. Look at her. Woman of mystery. I don't think she'd tell you if you asked. All of these changes morphed the original Pandemic's puzzle into something which is new. It's still instantly recognisable. But for some people, that might not be enough. You might be saying, "More, Doctor! I need you to give me more! You have to give me more!" Well, Pandemic still has a few tidy little packages up its sleeves for you. Historical challenges. Oh, sorry, hold on. Let me get that. Isn't that sweet? It's a letter from my aunt. It's malaria. Well, I guess I'll keep that safe with all her other letters. In Iberia, there are 4 distinct diseases that each behave in their own unique way. There is typhus, stubborn bastard; yellow fever, bringer of British expat communities; the terrible twins, malaria and cholera, bringer of more British expat communities. They just keep coming and making things worse. They all just keep coming and making everything worse. The diseases make things worse. Depending how desperate you want things to be, you can play anywhere from none up to all 4 of the diseases. You can even add the influx of patients variant, which turns hospitals into a magnet for disease, attracting patients from far and wide, until finally they can no longer cope and they're at bursting point. As the hospital towns outbreak, patients flee in panic to neighbouring towns before slowly trundling their way back for yet more misery. What I love about these 2 modules is how alive they make the game feel. By changing the way the diseases behave, it lends them an almost organic quality. In the same way that regular Pandemic, you have mechanics that give you a sense of the spread and the growth of disease. In Iberia, the mechanics take it a step further, and you can almost feel the diseases pulsate on the board. And like a mutating virus, gameplay evolves from game to game. Perfect! There you go. So, get it right here. Your 100% bona fide Pandemic blues cure. Sorry, what was that? Side effects? I don't know what you're talking about. Here, let me show you. Absolutely nothing wrong with it whatsoever. Look at me. I'm fine. Oh, God. So, Pandemic Iberia's biggest strength is probably also its biggest weakness. It is difficult. Add in one of the custom diseases, and it becomes even more challenging. Play with all 4 diseases, and you're probably delirious. You should probably check yourself into A&E. Why would you choose to do that? Disease cubes spew all over the board, and throughout the game you'll find yourself permanently on the brink.
Was it expansion called Pandemic on the Brink?
On the brink of devastation. Now, while building railways and purifying water provide you with a way to combat the disease, it doesn't necessarily make things easier. Instead, it expands the decision space, giving you more ways to waste actions and waste cards. And this is all well and good if you're a pockmarked veteran, but for the first time player, it's just overwhelming, and they may well just OD. And that's just the problem. Pandemic is renowned as a classic gateway game, but its Iberian counterpart lacks the accessibility of the original. It also lacks the thematic appeal. In Pandemic, you're saving the world. You've got friends in Georgia. You live in London. It's immediate and relatable. And your friends are going to want to play it. Iberia is not such an easy sell. You're saving Spain 100 years ago. Everybody's already dead. There are also some changes to the details in the game which significantly shift the tone of the player experience. For instance, in Pandemic, once you cure a disease, treating diseases becomes much easier, and you can literally just wipe diseases off the map, and that makes you feel like a hero. It's satisfying. In Iberia, you don't get that. It becomes a little bit easier to purify water, and instead of this feeling of progress and being a hero, instead you're left with this grinding game of attrition where no matter what you do, the things which you do are good, don't have enough of a lasting impact for you to really feel like you've achieved something. So, what's the final diagnosis? Earlier, I referred to Pandemic Iberia as a cure for Pandemic legacy, which it is. If you played Pandemic before and you love it and you want more, then this could very easily be your next fix. However, be warned that it might not be everyone's spoonful of sugar, and however good this game is, it's not a Pandemic panacea.